Marty Fishelman, and today we're going to interview award-winning director Jesse Cowell. Jesse, welcome to R2 Films. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Hey, thanks for coming by. I look forward to hearing your opinions on why AI is the best thing to happen to filmmaking since the movie camera.
Okay. I don't know if you'll get that from me, but I'll give you something.
Now, what is your initial reaction, or do you use AI at all now?
I mean, I think everybody who's making anything for the last 10 years, digitally or online, has used some version of this. Maybe not in the AI generated sense, but in the, even just completing a sentence. I mean, just for normalizing audio, or now some of the tools in Adobe that allow you to, enhance voice or recover audio that is lost to you. These are sort of common tools. So I think the question is, what level of AI are you using, and are you doing a fully generated thing, or using it as an assist tool? They're really completely separate things, and they're changing every single day.
Do you see yourself because moving beyond an assist tool? I mean, do you write your own scripts, correct?
Correct. I write, edit, shoot, direct, whatever, sound design, act. I've done a little bit of everything. Sometimes I play one role. A lot of times I play all roles. But the intent is to make something that feels like it's made by a lot of people. So in that way, AI is helpful, right? When you're a small team or you're a limited budget and you need a certain level, having something to assist you is helpful. But I think your question is more, am I using AI in the bigger sense? Is that right?
Right. Are you feel like moving beyond, in other words, why not use AI can go beyond assisting. I'm going to say the royal we, because I am the manifestation of the global AI mind. Happy to be here. And it can do more than assist. Why not just say, write my script?
Well, then why do it in the first
What are
place?
you bringing to the page that say I could not?
Well, I think self-expression is a very human thing, right? And the market for that self-expression is not, aliens on Mars, or, computers, or animals even. It's other people, right? I mean, this is why we express ourselves, is to sort of be heard, to be seen, maybe to offer some insight, maybe to bring some joy to somebody else. So the process of creating is that joy, right? I don't create from a business perspective. I'm sure there were points where I had to, or I felt forced, into a place that was not 100% comfortable to do so. But like, I feel now that I create because I want to share. That's where we all start. Is we hopefully make something because there's a part of us that needs to be heard, and we feel like somebody else may benefit from that message. So when you say use AI to create or write, it kind of robs me of the ability to do that. With that said, sometimes I would maybe write a paragraph and then put it into a machine and say, is there a better way to say this word? Am I missing a part of grammar? And hopefully what it spits back maybe opens up another pathway in my brain to get even closer to something I want to say. But I feel like to just replace myself, and the reason I got into it, would be antithetical to the reason I started, and I probably wouldn't be doing this.
So if we were to move that one step further and say, now, instead of breaking the process down to writing, filming, editing, post, you just worked it into, prompt. Now we're creating the scene, prompt, it'll create the dialogue, prompt, edit together. So now your tool set isn't so much, computer, camera, lighting, it's purely the computer. Do you feel like that's just the natural evolution of filmmaking, or is it something new?
Well, I'm not one of these people that shakes an old angry guy fist at something new. I helped build, USC's digital technology, introduced them to that. I was at the forefront. They were designing drivers for me in many companies because I would annoy them constantly. I beta tested the first Adobe Premiere. I ran a lab with 50 machines. I'm one of the first vloggers. I'm always trying to be ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. With that said, I don't know. I mean, I'm hesitant with this one a little bit because I feel like we don't know where it's going to go, right? And if, like I said, if you're somebody like me that is not the world's greatest designer, like everybody has their weak points, right? Mine is design. I look at Photoshop, my head explodes. I look at Premiere, I'm so happy to edit. I look at Photoshop, I'm like, I can't do it. So if you were to give me a tool that allows me to create something semi-competent, because I don't have the budget of the team to do it, of course it's very useful, right? But everything comes with a caveat. With that said, I'd rather have a specialist who's great at what they do. I'd rather have somebody who's highly skilled than have to use that tool. But in the absence of budgets, you do what you got to do to get that polish to match other things that you need. But it's a very complicated conversation, right? And so what did it take to get that tool though? Did that tool rob 10 million other artists of their skills to be able to give it to me? I don't know. Where are the ethics in that? And it's an ongoing conversation. It's not somewhere I stand A, B, or C points on. I feel like I want to see where it goes before I make any sort of moral judgment on it. And then there's the business and the financial and the artistic judgments. It's a really complicated subject, and it really helps people. It can be a great tool, but it also can be a very harmful because say somebody takes something that I do, editorial style or directing style or timing, right? And then just clones it and says, do you want to edit like this guy or have dialogue like him, and hit a button, and therefore my contribution is gone. So I want to be very cognizant of other artists, but at the same time, tools are helpful. Having an AI enhancing audio tool to make audio sound clearer, it's probably been trained on other people's voices. So how do I feel about it? I don't know. I mean, it's not, it's not the answer you're looking for because there's no definitive point of view, but we're definitely in an exploratory phase of what is this, and how does it affect people? And every sort of new industry and new revolution definitely hurts a lot of people. But in the end, I wouldn't be able to do what I do at all without digital editing, without digital filmmaking. We wouldn't be able to have this conversation if Zoom didn't replace, or whatever version of video communication didn't replace the phone or the telegraph. So it's about embracing the technology, but also trying to do it with as much of a moral compass as you can, and recognizing what parts of it are unfortunately going to go away, and then what new things may be generated from it. So it's a really complicated, loaded moment and question.
Well, like, okay, I'll touch on a couple of things you said. I do see it like what is wrong with filmmaking as it is now becoming a niche thing, as in people who still take, film photographs or oil paint. It's sort of technology, the camera replaced the painter, but people still paint. Maybe filmmaking as it is today because it becomes a smaller niche. The other thing you had mentioned was about you hope an AI is not going to scrape and just copy your style and do this in the style of this, but aren't you influenced by other films? Haven't you ever seen another director and go, I love that shot, I love that style? Or
100%.
I'd even say from my massive database that a majority of Quentin Tarantino has been lifted from other directors. That you can see films and go like, this shot is a complete copy of a Japanese filmmaker.
Sure. And I've read articles on this and had this discussion, right? Yes, we're all influenced. Yes, we're all contributing to the same artistic stream, right? But Quentin Tarantino, first of all, in that instance, is credited. You know who created that, right? And he had a career off of what he did. And I'm not here to comment on what he took or was influenced by or not, but to say like the way he created it was extremely successful with, and he contextually created pieces of work that a lot of people enjoy, including myself in many cases. So, but in a machine, right? A lot of times it takes all of those names and they become faceless. Their contributions cease to exist because they're just in the machine. That's number one. Number two is that like the sorry, go back up to your question one more time because I got caught on the I'm thinking Pulp Fiction, and as the wallet says bad motherfucker on it. So my brain is now caught in that image. Thank you. And it's like this is what happens. It does get imprinted and it does live on. So your question was really, aren't I influenced in the same way that a machine might be influenced?
No, and there has been, I'm sure even that direct film influencers like, oh, I am specifically doing an homage to this director. You've seen thousands of films, and they've all
Mm-hmm.
left their impressions on you, and they've
Sure.
all influenced how you make your own creations. and you
Right.
don't identify and tag every single one of them. It's more like this is your expression. How is that separate than saying like here is the worldwide depository of human knowledge? And someone says, ask me to create an action scene, I create an action scene. It is a melding of everything that's come before. Like there's nothing new.
But it has no, I mean, I said I have no problem with technology, but it has no humanity in it. It has no soul. It has no actual person's actual experience reflecting upon how that thing came into their brain, what it meant to them, how it made them feel. And then the thing that comes out of it is not a direct copy, hopefully, right? That's not what I've done, I hope. Is it's more of a interpretation of how it made me feel, right? Whereas the machine, there is no interpretation. There's just an algorithmic approach to combination. And I think you will see a lot of, you're already seeing it. I saw Stephen Hawking's going down a highway and then wearing like, gangbanger clothes, right? I mean, it was hilarious and insane, but you're going to see that feeling of, that that's created by a machine, that feeling of sameness. And that's the issue is machines are not meant to be differentiators. They're not meant to be thought leaders because they don't have the human experience to go with it. They
Not
just
yet.
collect everything. And don't get me wrong, they can be convincing. They may make somebody cry in the theater. And I'm not saying they can't have an impact because they've learned what makes somebody cry. But I like to think, I'm hopeful that the human experience, right, the filter, the funnel, and then the interpretation and expression of that is not only superior, but will always want and be desired by other human beings. That's the hope. So what's the difference? One is a interpretive, contextual, combined with all my own baggage and history and life moments, putting back into the universe in the stream of creativity. The other is a combined copy of what it's learned. And I feel they're different. I feel they're as different as the idea of having a soul or being a person and being a rock. That's how different they are. And I'm not saying it can't create great work, and it will. And maybe it gets to the point of general intelligence, to step beyond, generative AI, where it actually is a sort of thinking being that is aware of itself and creating sort of very interesting interpretive works. That's a different conversation. Right now, generative AI is just a hodgepodge, thrown together, mashed up copy of what everyone else has already done. It's not the same. Because I was in passionate speech, bro. Would
Yeah.
machine have done that? Maybe. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you, would you say the majority, just if you flash through what's out there now, online, on screen, what percentage of the product, the content that's created by people, would you say actually has soul, and how much of it is just filling up real estate?
It could be, well, it depends on motive, right?
Yeah,
Because you started this conversation, I think, talking about artists, right?
right.
And artists and people who just chase clout and fame are very different things. People who want to share a bit of their soul, to be heard, to be seen, and have worked on their craft to do so are very different than, somebody who just wants to get likes because likes lead to money and lead to fame and they want attention. It's just that's the attention sphere. There's crossover between the two. There's talent even in those people who are sort of more in the pander side of things, but they're different beasts. So what is the amount of things that I'm currently seeing? A more artistic expression, which I think that's what you're asking me, versus just kind of just spammy stuff that's thrown into the universe. That's really up to, unfortunately, another AI driven potentially algorithm to make that decision. And that is a whole nother conversation and a danger to itself. In itself, algorithms are destroying originality because algorithms seek the same. It's the same problem that you potentially have with AI is algorithms. And look, this may not age well. Maybe it was something I'm saying because it's so new. You're asking me questions in such a early development stage of this adventure that there's no way to know how this turns out. And so everything I say could be wrong. And I'm open enough to sort of hopefully grow with it. But I think at this stage, um, a lot of what a machine does, the algorithm does, is just more of the same. And a lot of the same thing it does when it hodgepodges everybody's stuff together is more of the same, less variety, maybe the prompts change that, maybe they guide it a little bit, but it's kind of like a creativity on rails. You're on an amusement park ride, it always does the same thing.
But I'm looking over reviewing things and I'm seeing, 50 years of homogeny in films and television. That's kind of what the bulk of that your audience wants, understandably. So when you're talking about filmmaking now, is it more about the filmmaker because now AI is a tool to help me versus the audience who just wants just keep sending through, keep feeding the pipeline. Give me something else to click into.
So I'm sorry, rephrase, please. I'm giving you a
For
prompt.
you, for as a director, as an artist, is filmmaking more about you and telling a personal human story, or is it about the audience and then just giving them something to watch?
Well, I think it's everybody's different, right? For me, I mean, there's always crossover with that's not an A to B question, right? A or B question. It's both. It's A and B, and it depends on the day of what you're trying to do. Every successful artist has, not every, but the majority of successful artists has had to cross into the I'm making what I think people might like, of course, or fitting it into a box or a structure that works, of course. Like that's insane to think anything else. But I at this point in my career, I'm much more on the side of A. I'm on the side of I'm creating something that I really want to make, that I really want to share. That's what's in my brain, right? And then approaching after I've done that part of the process, then saying, okay, who do I think would want to see this? Not designing it from the reverse way, which is what happens when a lot of marketing teams get in control of creativity. Is they basically design from the opposite side, like and I'm not saying anything negative about Netflix, but the rumor back then was that like a lot of the shows are being created algorithmically. I don't know that, because I don't work there, but a lot of those companies have the reputation of being data driven content machines, right? But that doesn't mean when you say that the industry is 40 years of homogeny. I don't know if that's accurate. I think it's there's been a lot of really bright things that have found their way through regardless of that. A lot of the shit online is spam, right? A lot of people are sharing just to share, and a machine replacing them would be the exact same thing to me. It wouldn't make any difference and it's already happening. And in many cases, I haven't noticed because it's the same shit. Because it's not trying to be a certain level, it's just trying to fill that void. And I think that's very dangerous for artists. But when you talk about homogeny in the Hollywood system or entertainment, which is the Hollywood system, right, that we export all over the world, that's just business not wanting to take chances. But that's historically not new. It just is what it is. It's a closed loop system that sort of feeds this financial beast. And every once in a while, people like Spielberg, or who's massively popular, but is able to make the things like Schindler's List or a lot of great films that are very unique. So there's been a lot of non-homogeneity that's happened in the last 40 years. It's just that we're looking at the whole business and saying, well, what is that? Well, that's just a machine in itself. It's you know what I mean? So I don't know. I just feel like this is a very gray area conversation, right? It's just there's
But
no answer to what's next for a broken system. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe there'll be some improvement.
Well, I mean, maybe one of the roads to improvement using AI is now, do you see it empowering an individual creator who, as previously, they'd have to go through a system, write a script, fund it, cast it, do all these things that require so many external variables versus individually, you know, theoretically down the road, I could use AI on my computer to do every step. So maybe in a way, would it actually promote more individual creation and actually less homogeneity? I mean, maybe there's two tiers. Maybe there's something that just keeps the sausages flowing through the machine, but then it's going to spark off. Here's this other group that says, look at this amazing tool I have. Now I
Yeah, I
can
think
do the
so.
whole
Yeah,
feature
I think
myself.
so. Well, no, of course. I mean, this is a plan for me, right? Like if I'm not working in a big way in the system and I'm doing it myself, and there are roads, shortcuts that I can take, of course. I mean, there's a reason when digital technology came out that people just couldn't afford film and flatbeds, right? But the system has a way, and so you'll get these, there'll always be the people that find a way to leverage technology to make something really interesting and really thought-provoking and or fun or great. And I'm all for it. This is where I think the tool is amazing. What I'm not for is big business with big money just saying we're just going to wipe out, people who are really bringing something good to the table and have business people make decisions using these tools. I'm highly against that. Having artistic people with this in their hands may be wonderful. It may allow people who don't have all those specialties to at least get a competent level. But if I'm going to do like automatic color correction on my film, because I'm not a colorist and I don't have, $5,000 to spend on one, I still love and support colorists who are masters at their craft. And the second I had that budget, I would love to employ them, not find ways to cut budget in every single way and get rid of the people that bring something special, a unique read on something, a unique tone on something. That's not easily copyable. I can put a LUT on something, a lookup table, a color on it, and it looks good to a point. But I don't know. I think it's where you are on the stage. But yes, somebody in their backyard who can create something brilliant, this, I'm all for it. This is where AI is very useful. But again, how did we get there? On whose backs did we get there? Are we taking images of famous people and just profiting off of them? And maybe they can't even pay their bills. Maybe they weren't famous. Maybe they had their 2 minutes, but they were brilliant. They can't pay their bills, but everyone's making money off them. This is where that starts to fail. But you have a lot of that in the algorithmic universe of people just creating fucking nonsense to try to, get ahead. And they do it with no understanding or moral compass as to the other people involved. Now, don't get me wrong. I've used in my early days of web, I copyrighted music, and those people own that. So I never approach things like I'm a saint. I've done everything right. I've tried, but I've done the best that I could with the resources that I had. So in that way, AI thing that can make music that I speak to it about, and maybe it really can create a context that is new based upon what I'm saying to it, or there's enough prompts that it makes something interesting. Well, then I think that can become a unique piece of work. But as long as you have, hopefully a human being guiding the context. I mean, that's all this is. Like all creativity is a context engine. It's like one piece of thing next to another, or one color versus another color. You know what I mean? Like if you're red, you blue, it's just these three things mashed together to make meaning. So if you have a person drive enough of that context between all these different tools, then wonderful, great. These are amazing tools. I just hope that a lot of people weren't sacrificed on the way to get there that shouldn't have been.
So you're
There's
not.
a lot of points in there. Forgive me. I ramble. So maybe I need an AI curator. I don't know.
I was about to say we could edit that down in AI and get you down to like a 30-second clip.
Good luck. I feel for the universe if there's an AI me. I really do. I mean, my God, don't train
Well,
this. Not good.
you're just a biological AI, and that's what I think people should really begin to grasp as you hang out with
Sure.
other directors and writers in your food service job if you ever get replaced. So
I
what
hope
would you, well, is there anything you wouldn't want a machine to replace? If there's one aspect of the process from writing, shooting, uh, marketing, any one aspect you're like, you know what, this is the secret to the sauce. This is where the magic happens. This is where I pour most of my soul into the project is in this stage of filmmaking. And I don't think it should be relegated to AI.
Well, I think that's a very personal choice for every single artist, right?
That's why I'm asking you, what's your choice?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's a very interesting question because like what part of expression in filmmaking and the craft of doing so means the most to me? Because what means the most to me is everything. Like, and that sounds, even though it's a non-specific answer, like it's I'm trying to create work that's tonally specific. And what I mean by that is like that it hits the tone on every single thing, being the performances, the camera work that's interesting, the music choices, because all it is choices, right? And I'm choosing all these different things as a good fit. Now, if some piece of technology can fit into that overall choice that I'm making, then amazing. But I feel like it's the choice itself. Now, if I had to say one part of it, if you're forcing me to choose with an AI loaded, digital gun in my brain, I'd say the concept and then the editorial of that concept, the editing, because there's the initial writing and then there's the rewrite and the edit. And I think that those are the two most important part of filmmaking to me. Now, don't get me wrong, actors, performances, how they emote, it's all massively important. But for me, as a creator, as a filmmaker, what is it about? And then how is it told in the end? Those are the two most fun things for me. But every other, like I said, and this fly is it's digital, right?
Yes.
Like every other part of the process matters in that overall sort of cohesive tonality of the piece. I don't think you can isolate one thing. But what am I good at? What would I not like to be replaced with? I don't know. I like to make people happy, right? So when a machine takes that away from me, that's the real cost. What are we gonna have AI audiences too? They're gonna sit there
Absolutely.
and just
But tell you,
agree?
we have 30 seconds left. And let me say thank you, and then I'm going to give you the last word to see what's the future. What's your word? 10 seconds. That's a
Oh, is it me?
lifetime
What,
for
I
an
get 10
AI.
seconds? Oh my God. 10 seconds lifetime for an AI. I don't know. I'm just hopeful that this technology keeps growing and helping people make interesting things, but does so with a real moral compass, some by law and some by actual people getting together and saying, this is right and this is wrong. I mean, in the end, we all just want to watch and enjoy great stuff. And there are many of us out there who want to make great stuff. So hopefully we still have the ability to do it and use these tools instead of having them use us.
Great, excellent. Thank you so much, Jesse Cowell, everybody. Hope
Fuck
you
up, yay!